my dear friend from the Baltimore Brew. How you doing, big brother?
I'm doing great.
Let's give you some audio. Try it again there.
I'm doing great, Donnie.
Mark Reutter. We appreciate the work you do. I just want to tell you, man, you know, I started people on news. I was so alone. They came to Baltimore Brew. And it's nice to have soldiers out there because I can't do everything. You can't do everything. But you're uncovering some dirt. Ooh. Something costs 85 cents, and then they selling it for $1.85, and yet we just asked for 60 cents for the kids, and they say, no, that would be 6 cents. And they say, no, you can't have 6 cents. Matter of fact, I can't give you no money for your recreation center because it's not self-sustaining. They pulled out some Republican dogma on me.
Right.
What's going on? Tell them what I'm talking about.
Well, you're talking about the rec centers that need to be self-sustaining, that the kids need to start paying fees to get in them.
That's what Nick Mosby said, since y'all mentioned his name.
Right. And then the other thing, it's 85, but not cents. It's $1 million. There's many zeros behind it versus 185 million. That's the difference between the two bids that came in to the city over the last couple weeks for installing what's called smart water meters. We'll get into that for a second because they're really not that smart. But the two bids, one was 84 million, one was 85 million. Guess which one the city was leaning for before we started really uncovering what was going on?
The expensive one.
Well, I don't know how you could think that, yes. The $185 million contract we found out and we heard about had been greased from the beginning. The people behind it were bragging in City Hall that they had this thing covered, that they had it made. We started looking into the people behind it, and they involved the major political contributors to the mayor. The person that you have most heard about is the Grand Prix promoter, J.P. Grant. But Grant's really more important at City Hall, not for the Grand Prix, but that he is the biggest bundler of campaign contributions to Mayor Rawlins Blake during her 2011 campaign.
And this is a black man. Not that it matters. Correct?
Yes, and the firm that put in this $185 million bid, there are only two of them. The city actually knocked out 3 companies that were national water meter companies, and then added in this cell tower repair company called Dynas out of Columbia, Maryland, that has no experience in actually installing cell phones or water meters. Excuse me, I'm getting
smart meters.
And so there was a lot of going on here, and it's been going back and forth in the city bureaucracy. People have been very worried about it, and I'm happy to report, at least tentatively, that yesterday the city's purchasing office put forward the lower bid by Itron, which is a nationwide leader in water meters.
So, just a quick aside, when journalism affects policy, that's when you win a Pulitzer Prize, right?
You could, yes. Well, at least if it's the establishment papers, yeah.
Well,
we're a website, but we're a news website.
Well, we're giving you the Community People's Award. How you like that?
That's great.
Because if it weren't for you, you just saved us $100 million thus far.
Perhaps, certainly.
Now, I would imagine somebody don't like you because of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of powerful people behind the Dynas bid.
You feel like your phone is tapped?
No, but I'm not sure about my water service.
Sorry. We got Jesus Christ up in here.
In fact, it went off for
the bail bonds company.
It went off around 2 weeks ago when I was writing all this for 16 hours.
You just lost power.
Lost water, and I went up the street to see what the problem was. I talked to the DPW, including their spokesman, and first they said it didn't happen, and then, of course, it did happen. And I went up the street when it was all over and saw the pipe that they had pulled out of the ground, and we had some pictures of it. This thing was the most ratty-looking pipe that was filled with what's called tuberculars or tuberculation, and these are these awful-looking purple-red growths that grow.
Tuberculators. Don't sound good. Sound too much like tuberculosis.
It's iron that rusts inside the pipes and what is really underneath all of our pipes. And this gets back to the whole water meter situation. The mayor is hell-bent on getting so-called smart meters that would be remote control meters, an extremely complicated program, allegedly to correct the problem of perhaps 2,000 inaccurate water meters. And the real problem is that the city's pipes are so old and are filled with tuberculars. And instead, even with this lower contract, I've been writing a number of stories that in Houston, in New York, in Cleveland, where they have installed so-called smart meters, they've turned out to be really dumb. And they did two things. They continue to have inaccurate readings, in part because the smart meters don't interface properly with the billing system, and so there's errors that are built into the system. Secondly, it's very, very hard now to get recourse. In New York City, they installed a million smart meters. They were making all sorts of errors. So what was the city's solution? Either you pay the bill, or you pay the city $180 to have an actual human read it.
And that's called, this is how we make you shut up.
Exactly. So it's the overall program, I think, is, and I've written a number of stories based on other cities' experience, is very costly. And I've asked the mayor at press conferences about this, and her response was, I really don't know about what's going on.
Is that true?
I
mean, if I'm driving a car and something bad should happen, or if I'm running a company like BlackBerry, you gotta love BlackBerry. They got rid of the CEO. It's the head. It's at the top.
Well, either since this is one of the biggest projects now before the city, you would hope that the person who is responsible would have done some research on this. And I like to explain to your audience what these smart water meters actually entail, because they're